Welcome back to Music Theory Logic. My name's Andrew, and today's another music theory breakdown, where I recreate popular songs so that we can talk about music theory. Today we're going to be talking about Meet at Our Spot, a hit record by The Anxiety, Willow, and Tyler Cole. Let's go ahead into the logic session. So if you're not familiar with this track, I encourage everyone watching music theory breakdowns to just pause it and go listen to the original, go show it some support, see if you want to learn more about what is involved with the track. Perhaps you're here and you already know the song. I'm not going to play any of the original audio since I don't have the copyright for that, and I don't want to get the video taken down. Every thing you hear I've basically recreated from the original audio. It's me playing on the acoustic guitar and then virtual instruments. If you find these helpful, you would help me out a ton by subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, here is my rendition of Meet at Our Spot. Here we go. Cool. So obviously that's a lot shorter than the original, but that's because we're not hearing any vocals, and it would be kind of boring to hear that for 3 minutes or however long that full song is. So let's go ahead and talk about the music theory. If you're not familiar with what music theory is, it's a fancy way of saying the way we talk about how notes interact with one another, like in the form of scales, chords, chord progressions, melodies. It's not a hard science, but again, it gives us a vocabulary to talk about something that without said vocabulary, it's hard to describe. You know, we're hearing music with our ears, so if we don't know what these notes are called, it can be hard to tell another musician what note to play, stuff like that. So this song is in the key of D major. D major has two accidentals, two black keys. Those are F sharp and C sharp. It sounds like this. Cool. Now this song is quite simple, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this is one critique I have of some videos is that I move too fast. I try to move pretty fast on most of these, but again, I want everybody to be able to learn something from these. So this song doesn't really use any even full chords. We get full chord sounds from all the vocal harmonies that happen, but what the guitar is doing is what we would call a power chord. A power chord on the guitar is playing the first note and the fifth note from said chord. So like for a D5, as you'll write it on a chart, or a D power chord has the notes D and A. A G power chord has G and D. An F sharp power chord has F sharp and C sharp. It's always going to be the fifth up. And all of these notes that we find in the song are one of these 7 different scale tones from D major. So let's go through the different parts of the song. So first of all, with the drums are really simple. One of the things that gives the song its attitude and sort of vibe is the swing nature. So we have the fastest rhythm we're hearing are eighth notes. The eighth notes are swung out. I have it set to around between 20 and 23 on each channel. That felt closest to my ear. Again, what swing does is it changes every other note. So you'll notice, like, if we go on the 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, all of those are right on the line, right in the grid. But for instance, the second one is behind the grid, and that's true for every other eighth note. And what that does, it's basically like long, short, long, short, long. It adds a little bit of movement to the groove, and it really makes drums feel a lot more natural, and ultimately like produces songs that make us want to dance more than things that are perfectly with the groove or with the grid. So the fundamental drum pattern we're hearing is straight eighth notes, kick on 1, kick on 3. This is a very, very simple beat. So it's the cymbals 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, then the kick, snare, kick, snare. Cool. So that repeats just like the bass line that we're going to talk about. Repeats basically like 3 times through the chord progression, or basically we're going to go with the same drum groove for 7 of 8 subsequent measures, and then all the drums are going to repeat in 8 measure sequences. So everything is the very same until we get to this measure 6 and measure 8. It's wrong, it's not just 8. And all that happens, nothing changes with the snare or the hi-hats. All that changes is our kick pattern. We get some extra kicks. We get kick on the basically 4th, 8th note, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get it on the 6th, 8th note. We could call this syncopation. That's a fancy way of saying displacing the downbeat. Grooves that are syncopated. The attack of usually a kick drum is not on a straight 1, 2, 3, or 4. That again changes the feel of those drums a lot, and we'll notice that. So let's hear just the drums on their own. Sound like this. That same drum beat, right? Here's measure 5. Here comes the change, 6. And then the same change in 8. Cool. And again, that 8 measures of drums repeats. So the entire song is just those 8 measures repeating. If we go to the bass line's also set up in 8 measure sequences, and this is going to be true for the guitar as well. The song starts, we just hear the bass and the drum kit. The notes the bass are doing are going from D up to G, then F sharp. So that's the 4th note, then the 3rd note from our scale. So 1st note, 4th note, 3rd note. That repeats each time that straight drum groove is happening, actually. So we get the D, G, F sharp, D, G, F sharp, D, G, F sharp, D, G, F sharp. And then finally, the very last time, measure 7 and 8, we go down to a B, then up to a G. That's the same note we went up to before. And then we go down to the 7th scale degree. We could also call that the leading tone, the C sharp here. So let's listen to our drums and bass, and we'll watch this. So here's the D. And sorry, I'll start it again. But I didn't mention the rhythm. The rhythm that's happening, we hear steady 8th notes for the most part. Some of those 8th notes are skipped, like the very last one of every 4th measure. The rhythm is also swung out. I have these set to a swing of 23 on that 8th note groove. Cool. We hear this. So this is repeating that D, G, F sharp. Here's the change. D, G, C sharp. Sharp really adds a lot of like dissonance or some darkness to the groove. It really gives this this song kind of a interesting quirk to it, something sort of different. I liked it a lot. That's why I chose to do this song. I love getting suggestions. If you have any tracks you want me to recreate and talk about what's going on in the track, leave them in the comments. I've already gotten a couple of requests, and I really enjoy doing those songs. If I don't get requests, I'm typically doing songs that I either really like or songs I think that will showcase something interesting or will be a good one to talk about, which is why I thought this song would. It's a little different. This is the most similar to the Glass Animals breakdown I did. Cool. So that is literally everything happening. After the first time we hear the whole chord progression, we get a guitar. The guitar's pretty low in the mix. It sounds like this. So the guitar is literally playing the same notes that the bass line was doing with the same rhythm, the swung eighth notes. The one difference is that we're adding that power chord note that I talked about. So for the D, we add the note A. The guitar you're hearing is this blue, this is audio that I recorded strumming the guitar in front of a microphone. This up here is the MIDI equivalent of what I was doing. It doesn't sound as good just as MIDI controlled. That's why I played and recorded the guitar. The guitar is a great example of an instrument that I don't think the computer is quite up to making it feel real. It's so much better to record a real guitar, edit it even if you have to, than take a MIDI-based guitar and try to make it sound real. But in essence, you'll see that it's like the D and the A, then the G and the D, the F sharp and the C sharp, and then we go to the B, that's B and F sharp. It's also the fifth, G and D, and then F sharp and C sharp. Cool. So that literally covers all the different notes in the song. Some of the things that make this song really interesting are that it's quite minimal. Anytime you have a song where there's not a lot going on, when it's an interesting song, it's almost cooler. It's hard to make something interesting if there's not like a lot of stuff. Obviously, if we have a lot of crazy stuff going on, we can create interest just from the changes of sounds as opposed to the notes themselves. And then in this bass line, I love how it gives us that dissonance going to the C sharp. So once again, none of the notes that we saw are outside of the key of D major. That D major had two sharps, F sharp and C sharp. It means the notes were D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D. I hope that this helps you to better understand Meet at Our Spot and music theory in general. If you found this helpful, you would help me out a ton by subscribing to the channel. I hope you have a wonderful week. Make some music. Remember, making music is fun. And please try to remember also to be kind to your fellow human being. Makes this time on Earth so much more enjoyable for all of us. So if you found this helpful, help me out. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time. And till then.